This is going to be one of those podcast episodes on the stream where you're gonna send all the comments to me in the comment section or direct messages. Why are you talking about sports so much? Sports isn't news. Oh, but it is, because so much that happens in sports is downstream from culture. It happens all the time and reflective of what's going on. So, yes, we're going to talk about the NFL's massive Super Bowl fumble with Bad Bunny. Now, I hate this for a couple of different reasons, but maybe you do too. I don't know. We'll talk about that as well. And a little bit of the Ryder Cup stuff. Did you happen to see that over the weekend? That was interesting. But, of course, the main news stories that happened recently and over the weekend and going back a couple of months are federal help for cities and residents in cities that need the help that are trapped there. And that's what I'm getting to today, is how you have to reframe that to your friends when you're talking about this. Because most people don't understand. They're just listening to the other idiots on TV, or they're just listening to their friends who say, why is Trump the dictator sending in federal troops to Chicago and D.C. and Portland? And if you reframe it like this, it's a way better way to communicate this to them. Helping the residents that are trapped in those cities, because that's starting to happen now. Anyway, we'll talk about all that stuff. I hope you had a great weekend despite all this. Thanks for finding the Wicked Radio live stream and pod. Wherever you like to get them, let's get right to it. All right, that's right. I'm kicking it off with the NFL. A massive, massive fumble for the Super Bowl halftime announcement. It's Bad Bunny. Don't feel bad if you're saying right now, who? Because in a very unscientific survey, I just went on the main NFL website comment section. I did it last night when this was announced and this morning. I went on Adam Schefter's X account. It was probably the biggest NFL writer when he announced it as well. That's when most people found out who the entertainer is. Did it again this morning. I mean, scanning hundreds and hundreds of comments. It's unscientific, whatever. The overwhelming response from most people responding to this is, who? Who is this? So don't feel bad if you don't know who this is. He's a DJ, entertainer, Puerto Rican. Most of his songs are in Spanish. That's not the issue. That's not the thing. Here's the big issue with it. Here's the thing. Let me introduce you to Bad Bunny's political take. And this is why it drives me crazy. Because the NFL, despite itself, cannot get out of the politics. They can't do it. All of this was by design. It just is. You have to understand. If you know me, if you've talked to me personally, or if you listen to me back in radio days or even on here, you know my personal grind with Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL. He cannot stop screwing things up despite the success of the league. Like, it's so popular. It's so massively successful. He can't help but overcome all of these mistakes that they make. And here's another one. There's another massive mistake. And this is by design, the controversy already surrounding this thing. Now, most of us look at sports as a little escape, and it's supposed to be unifying. It's supposed to be a great thing. No, this is the commissioner that ushered in the Black National Anthem, along with the National Anthem. That's divisive right there. The kneeling. Remember, they put up with 2 whole seasons, the kneeling during the National Anthem. Remember that one? Yeah, until finally the ratings took a dive, and then they got all upset, and then all of a sudden the TV networks took the cameras off the kneeling players, and then that went away, right? That did. Well, now they've stepped in it again. Bad Bunny, the artist who refuses to tour in the U.S. because of the immigration crackdown. Basically what he's saying is because of Trump. Honestly, you haven't heard this yet? Let me give you the interview where he says it himself. Here you go. Here's your 2025 season. It'll be February of 2026. Super Bowl halftime performer in Santa Clara, California. Well, wow, how far we've come.
I'm never performing in the U.S. again. I'm scared that ICE might raid the venue outside my show. And honestly, I can't risk the safety of my fans like that. Mainland America just doesn't feel necessary to me anymore. I've already performed there plenty of times. Fans in the U.S. have had lots of chances to see me live. That being said, I still care deeply about my Latino and Puerto Rican fans.
That's the part that gets me again. You know, it's enough that I will not tour in the U.S. anymore because of these policies. But I'll play the Super Bowl in Santa Clara, California. That's fine. No, that's fine. Here's the part that gets me, though. And that should be the clip that stands out to all of us. Mainland America isn't that relevant to me anymore. Now, he went on to say it's because I played there plenty of times, but he said it. Mainland America doesn't matter to me anymore. And isn't that the same thing, really, truly, when you're talking about the NFL or any of the major TV networks or all these politicians? It's like they care about the big cities and big markets. Everybody else in the middle, they want your money. They want your ratings. They want your viewing. They want all that. But he said it. Mainland America, regular Americans, he said, they don't really matter to me anymore. Okay. Here's the thing that really sucks, and I've already seen this pop up online. Let's just be realistic about this and be adults in the room. I've already seen it started to crop up. Boycott the Super Bowl halftime show. Boycott the Super Bowl. But listen, let me just tell you now. I like the thought. That's not going to work. It's just not. First of all, let's just talk about their rating system, okay? Let's say that you're going to, there's going to be somebody is going to organize this and they'll put it online. Organize a Super Bowl walkout at your Super Bowl party this year. Like when he goes on at halftime, walk out of the room and you refuse to watch. That still counts as ratings because the TV is still on, okay? It's not going to work. I understand your sentiment and I totally understand that, right? Here's what will work. Play people that video, especially specifically, and it'll get narrowed down and people will edit it to that point where he says, mainland America doesn't matter to me much anymore. That's what works in the pushback. Will it change anything? Like, is he going to be removed from the Super Bowl halftime show? No. We're way down the road in that one. So, once again, the NFL is just tone deaf and just let them know maybe ratings will be down. I doubt it. Because you're talking about such a massive force in entertainment. The NFL itself, the Super Bowl, I hate to say, almost transcends news, sports, anything. It's just a piece of American culture that we all want to love. It's almost like foolproof, even against the mistakes they even make. Like they can't help themselves to be successful. That's how much we love football, college and the pros. So I don't know if the boycotts are really going to work on this, but that will work actually, when people actually look into them. And look at it and have a little social experiment at work today, or in your friend's circle, at lunch, or anything. And just ask your friends, before any of this, have you ever heard the name Bad Bunny? According to, if the comments and the reactions so far are anything close to accurate, most people are going to say, nah, I had no idea who this is. And then look a little bit further about, how he feels about things. Mainland America just isn't that relevant to me anymore. That's something. That's a whole different level of arrogance. So the NFL politicized this. They did this to themselves. Who else could have been? It's amazing to me, too. I guess this is what got my attention at first, why I was so upset. You could have had Zach Bryan, country guy, Eric Church. Who else is playing stadiums? Oh, I don't know. Metallica. Could have had Metallica, but you can't. Oh, they won't. They absolutely, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is. This isn't a black-white thing. This isn't a Latino-white thing or any other. This is, the NFL is bound and determined never to have a rock entertainer ever again at the Super Bowl. And I don't know why. I don't know what it is. We're like, I think it's 16 years and counting since you had anything related to rock and roll at the Super Bowl. All right, their choice. You can always push back. I mean, there was a pushback during the NFL kneeling things, but this, I don't think any kind of a Super Bowl boycott is gonna help until the ratings do dip. So we'll see. I still can't get over that though. Mainland America isn't important, isn't relevant to me anymore. His direct quote. But he'll play the Super Bowl. Won't tour the country, but he'll accept the Super Bowl invite. Well, just hypocrisy. Oh, by the way, another NFL downfall. We had a tie last night, a 40-40 tie between the Cowboys and the Packers. What do you mean a tie? Anyway. Let's get off of sports. I could go all day on that. Maybe I will at some point here. Let's talk about federal help for trapped citizens. And I say it that way because that's exactly how you have to frame this when you're talking about this issue with your friends. Because most people aren't that involved with it. They're trying to live their lives like you and I are, and they're trying to go to work. They're trying to go to school, raise their kids, be good citizens. They hear little bits here and there, mostly from a lying corporate mainstream media about federal troops going to, first it was D.C., then Chicago. Might be going to Memphis, but they're definitely going to Portland. They got the full green light to send troops to Portland. Now you're going to have people in your life going, why are they doing that? Man, maybe Trump is a dictator. Why is he federal troops in an American city? Because that's how it's framed. Frame it like this. Reframe it like this. Federal troops helping save trapped citizens in Portland. That's how you reframe this. Think it. trapped citizens. Yes, trapped citizens. Because these cities, all of them, all the ones we just mentioned and many more throughout the country, all complete, they have such a lack of leadership, such weak leadership. There are people in those towns, in those cities, that have been afraid at night to come out of their apartments, to come out of their homes, because they're overrun by, pretend militant, Antifa, scumbag, whatever it is. And they've been afraid until now because they're starting to speak out. Here's what's happening. Residents in these cities, remember the D.C. thing? Let's go back I think it was a few weeks ago, maybe even a month ago. Remember this changed? Remember the residents of D.C. started to come out and say, I'm glad they're here. I want to thank you. Television camera, independent reporter, come. And they were going up to network reporters on the streets of D.C. saying, talk to me. I'm a resident that's been here. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid to go to work or school anymore because of these federal troops. Remember, that started to happen more and more and more in Washington, D.C.? Then all of a sudden, what happened? Then all of a sudden, the narrative changed. Uh-oh. Then they couldn't report it anymore. That this entire city is against federal troops helping them out. All of a sudden, that changed. And then they moved on to Chicago. And then Chicago residents are starting now to speak out, too, and looking for the federal help. So when you reframe that story to anybody that doesn't understand it, and somebody that comes up to you, or, you're just having a conversation with somebody that just maybe doesn't have all the facts that you do. Why is Trump sending federal troops to cities? This is how you reframe it. He's helping save trapped residents in those towns. That's what they're doing. Why? What kind of weak leadership? Well, check this out. Let's go to Portland for a second. Why are citizens trapped there? Because the leadership is so bad. The local police force has been so handcuffed, they retreat. Retreat. Time and time and time again. Here's an example of that. Here you go. Here's just yesterday, Sunday afternoon. Portland police officers felt overrun, and I'm not taking shots at them because they want to save their jobs, basically, is what they want to do. And they've been told by their leadership in their city they can't do anything and they can't push back. This is why the residents there need help. Watch them retreat. And I'll post this video for you. Watch them retreat to this, I'll call it a mob, but watch the mob as well. In their masks, in their little signs and pushing back. The Portland police couldn't even stand up to this when it's needed. Boy, is that a bad look. That's a bad sound. And you audio listeners, I'm sorry, I'll describe the scene to you. So, Portland police officers in some helmets and bicycles, basically, faced that, I'll call it a mob, but they just happened to be a group of people pushing forward. They turned their little police bicycles around and they left. Now, if you're a resident in that city, how safe do you feel? How safe do you feel at night to go out when you know the police don't have the power or ability to stand up to even that wimpy little crowd? How safe are you? You're not safe at all. This is why you reframe it in the argument. Federal troops are helping save trapped residents in those cities. You put it that way, you explain it to somebody, and all of a sudden it's, I didn't know that was going on, because most people don't know that's going on. They're trapped. They're trapped in these cities, but now they're starting to speak out. Let's go to Portland one more time. Here's a guy that's starting to speak out for the first time ever. This was caught by some independent reporter yesterday who felt for the first time during one of these things to come out. He lives near that ICE facility in Portland, came out and he thanks the federal troops for coming his way. Listen to this guy, and there'll be more and more, just like D.C.
I'm so happy that Trump is sending the National Guard in here. I live in this building. We both live in this building. We've been asking for help for months, and we're finally going to get it.
Think he's alone? How long has that guy been hiding? Literally hiding in his apartment. I think he had his wife there by his side as well. Couldn't come out of his house asking for help. That's a trapped resident in an American city that is getting zero help from his police or elected leadership. Nothing. Doesn't feel it. Would you feel safe? I wouldn't. The pushback is happening, and nobody's calling for violence here. Nobody's calling for violence, but you can speak out. Again, go back to the Washington, D.C. example. The whole narrative changed. All the news coverage changed when Washington, D.C. residents, like real people, started to speak out and say, hell yeah, I'm glad they're here. I don't have to look over my shoulder anymore walking home from work or school. That's when that narrative changed, and it very well may be changing in Portland too. Here's another guy that showed up. Here's another Portland resident. Went to the protest last night because he saw, I think the background of the story is he saw an independent reporter get attacked. That happens too, mostly at night when these little cretins come out with their cosplay helmets and their masks and their, they're actual wimps behind that, but whatever. This guy came out and he said, I'm not going to mess with it. Now, it's relevant to the story. The only reason why I'm talking about it, he's a large fella, happens to be a black guy, and he's carrying an American flag. Did any of these absolute wimps mess with him? No, they did not. And nobody wants to see anybody push back and get into trouble, but this is the kind of stuff that's going to start happening. Regular people have had enough.
Oh, hey, I seen you on YouTube. I was watching on live, and you were protecting a female. I came down here because of you.
He says because of you, because that was the independent reporter that was there. She got attacked, and her cameraman got attacked for covering what these little cretins are doing. It's changing, guys. It's changing. You don't believe me? Okay, let's go to Chicago. This was caught on video and has made the rounds. I think it's actually gone viral, and it has millions of hits now. Very interesting. Just a street scene. It looks like an outdoor cafe scene in Chicago, Illinois, another city where federal troops has come to rescue trapped residents in their cities. Just a lunchtime situation, and ICE officers were walking by, and the residents caught on video, and residents start thanking them. Listen to this interaction. Very interesting. You guys are wonderful. Thank you was the audio there. And some of the officers are saying back, we're here for you. Once you start to hear from the real residents, not these paid agitators, not the talking idiots on the news, when you find out what's really going on in these cities, it changes your complete perspective on all of this stuff. So it's changing, guys. But again, reframe this if you're talking to somebody about this who doesn't understand the story, because you do. You get it. Reframe it to sending the feds into cities. No. That's not it. They're rescuing trapped Americans in those cities. That's the reframe. That changes the whole thing, because you hear that and you're like, oh, because Americans don't like to see other Americans trapped, and that's what's exactly going on right now. All right, I'm going to wrap this up with another sports story, believe it or not. Did you see this whole Ryder Cup thing? I'm not a golf guy, I don't know, but I thought it was interesting. It was all kinds of controversy over it. First of all, it was amplified because Trump showed up over the weekend, I think it was Saturday, to watch the golf things. It was Team USA versus Team Europe, and it's match play golf and all this other crap. It was Bethpage, Long Island, and the crowd, let's just say, got a little bit rowdy. A lot of heckling of the Europeans. They were getting all upset. There was little scuffles between the golfers. Well, I say scuffles, but a golf scuffle is kind of like, angrily worded phrases. It was just what it was. But I'll say this, and this may surprise you. So the Europeans wound up winning this thing, I guess. Even that was controversial. But all weekend long, they faced a lot of heckling. A lot of heckling and giving them a hard time and this and that, but they wound up winning, and they kind of shoved it back in the face of the crowd, I got to tell you, it was kind of admirable. And I think Europe needs more of that. Wouldn't it be amazing if this was the spark that actually got Europe fired up again? Because you talk about residents of Portland being trapped. Europeans have been trapped forever. So a little bit of fight, even at the expense of my fellow Americans, not bad. I kind of respect that from the European golfers. They showed some fight, and they showed some resilience and mental toughness. Hasn't been a lot of that in Europe recently, so good for them. And then they have this celebration after their big win, and Rory McIlroy is in the front of the video here, and they trolled President Trump directly with this little video. Now watch this, and I'll give you Trump's response here in just a second. Believe it or not, I kind of admire that.
Are you watching? Are you watching? Are you watching? Are you watching Donald Trump? Are you watching?
Pretty interesting. Now, what makes it even more interesting is Trump responded to that video directly. In fact, he was the one that reposted it on his Truth Social account. And all he did was write on there, "Yes, I'm watching. Congratulations." Pretty good. So I hope that's some kind of a spark for Europe to stand up for themselves, even at the expense of Americans. But that's okay, whatever. All right. Here's your homework for today. This is what you got to do with the Bad Bunny thing. Ask your friends and family if they have any idea what Bad Bunny is all about. And then ask them, well, what'd you think about him saying he won't tour the U.S., but he'll play the Super Bowl? Just ask him that. And the more important issue is federal troops to American cities? Is Trump a dictator? No. Those federal troops, again, this is how you reframe it. Those federal troops are helping save Americans trapped in those cities. That'll turn the whole conversation around. All right, it's only Monday. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for listening to the sports stories as well. Thanks for the Wicked Radio podcast. Audio podcast, wherever you like to get those, whatever platform. And then we have a replay on X and YouTube and on Facebook as well. And there are clips of this stuff, I put on TikTok too. If you're brave enough to go over to TikTok, I don't recommend it, but, we'll see. With that said, it's only Monday, but make it a wicked awesome Monday. I'll talk to you tomorrow.